Welcome back to the weekend wrap, our Monday version for the weekend previews. Remember, Friday's weekend previews, Monday's weekend wrap, and I'll do it with my good friend Ari Hougaard. And we have to check our language at the door. What are we talking about? What language are we using today? So, yeah, today's English. Welcome back, Ari.
Yes, thanks, Mbet. Yes, nice to talk rugby. Lots happening over the weekend. It was quite interesting. Again, lots of games and a few interesting ones as well. The Springboks kept us on the edge of our seats, so to speak, till deep in the game. So that's a few things we can talk about. But mission accomplished. It's a win, and taking into consideration who played and who could have played, I think that's definitely mission accomplished. But there's definitely a few things that I think Jerry Flannery will be a busy assistant coach this week. So probably as we speak, he's busy doing a few things with the Springboks related to defensive lines. But can't remember if I ever seen line breaks like that for a Springbok game, even though it was late in the game. But that's something that happened. Maybe good it happened. Then you can be a bit more wakey and prepared in games to come in that area. So that was the one area that's maybe a bit of a flag that went up. A few other small ones, but as a whole, mission accomplished. They did well to beat that Scotland team that is extremely settled and probably 95%, 98% their first choice team is quite impressive as well. So I think it's a big tick. Mission accomplished.
I think we spoke to Harry about it this weekend that pillar and post, which I got a good grounding in now. The gap was between pillar and post, and Ruan Okia and Tuni looking at each other, kind of a thing. I think it's a lot to do with the fact that they're not used to playing with each other. And Tuni in his first test, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or one of his first, sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head just now. I think they will probably be able to fix that quite quickly. I'm not that worried about it. But if I was Jerry Flannery, like you just said, I wouldn't have slept a wink since Saturday night. I would have been at it since then.
Yeah, there's a few video sessions that's going to be a bit embarrassing, but they need to do better. So I understand and respect there's players that don't know each other, etc., but they've had quite decent time together, and even in their franchises, they're used to systems that address second, third, fourth fades when it's a bit more challenging to get everybody in the right position. But when it happens once, it's kind of a wake-up call. When it happens twice, but if it happens 3 times, then it's a bit of a red flag. So so I think that's what happened over the weekend. So I think it's a little bit more about one or two guys struggling with communication and not sure who's taking the player. But I think it's something they can fix. I'm quite comfortable that it happened now. Comfortable saying in inverted commas that it's better that it happened now in this scenario, and it didn't cost the Springboks the game. But it's definitely something they would need to get in place. And if it's about players that's not used to a system or not used to communication with other players, that needs to be addressed. But you would think at national level, those players would be able to adjust quicker than they did. So it didn't look good. It looked sloppy, actually, but at least they survived it. So I think the defence for Wales will be a massive step up in that regard. So I'm okay with that. But yes, very friendly is the defensive coach. So he's got lots of work to do. But there's always questions asked all over the place. But I'm more concerned leading up to the All Black test. So something that the All Blacks would have seen is that okay, so you can put the defense under pressure and you can create line breaks. And it was lots of inside passes. There was short passes and inside passes. So many inside passes that did that. And also Tulani centre came back inside quite a lot as well. So it seemed like there was space on the inside the whole time. So Tepolotu, yeah, sorry. I think even when I spoke Afrikaans, I would have battled with that.
You stumbled over that one.
But anyway, yeah, true Scotsman. Yes, he is. But so there was on the inside, many passes on the inside. They created momentum, not always line breaks, but the short passes, it was those line breaks were really passes just off the shoulder. So they need to just make sure that they plug those gaps, the Springboks. But that's definitely. That will be something that Flannery will work on, and I'm sure that every player will be a bit more wary about that as well, aware of that. But there's lots of different components of the defence. All components needs to be in place, but that's just one of them that was kind of showed up. But that was like the worst thing that we saw. I think otherwise they did well. They did well when they needed to. They did well when they're under pressure. did well when there were 14 men on the field, scrummed well when there were 7 in the scrum, and Don will be happy with that. That's also Pieter-Steph du Toit also alluded to that. So I think it's more mission accomplished for me than other way around. The things that's a challenge can be fixed.
All right, let's talk about this team now, and I'll put it on the screen here. And the one that stands out for me, jumps out for me, and a guy who did not have a good game on Saturday, Aphelele Fassi, back at 15 in the starting team. Is that maybe a ploy to maybe give him a bit more playing time, get him to hit his straps again, because he's a much more talented player than what we saw on Saturday. He looked out of sorts a little bit. Is that maybe thinking to get him to start again?
I think there's quite a few that needs a few more minutes, and I think what's encouraging is that Rassie trusts the players that's in the system, even though they had maybe a 5 or a 6 out of 10 game leading up to this game. I think maybe an example is that Paul de Villiers against England was not too bad, but it wasn't a great game. But the moment he got a second game against Scotland, he was way better. So sometimes you just need that one game just to kind of get used to that pace of Test rugby and what's happening and all the things you're meant to do. You're playing into different systems again, like we alluded to last time as well. You have in your franchise a way of playing, and now it's a little bit different at times. But we know what Fassi can do, especially on the attack. So it's under the high ball, he's nice and tall, so he's meant to be able to handle that quite well as well. It's often decisions when to kick it back and when to run it back and things like that that comes into play, to know when to be a little bit more conservative and when to trust what's in front of you. So he's an exciting player. So he needs a bit of game time. He was kind of in and out with injuries as well. So I think he needs time, and it's exciting to see players around him. He will know Jaco Williams next to him. That's exciting and fast. Not the biggest wing ever, but definitely a player to watch out for. Another speedster that we have that we can kind of put into the international fold, and then settle the center pairing. So it's the best centers you can pick, and with a very inexperienced new Vusi Moyo going into number 10, that's really exciting. But then again, you have massive experience in 9, Reinach. So both sides of him, he can't ask for better assistance. He's kind of eased into that, and I think he will get good possession as well. I don't think he'll be under pressure much. So sometimes you give somebody a debut. We all remember the Dave van Ooselen and Gaffie de Toey moments against New Zealand, and how tough it was for them to get all those the balls on the back foot. But Vusi Moyo will get good possession. He will get front foot ball. He will be able to play tactically. He will be able to play attacking rugby, and Reinach will protect him. Reinach will be a good player that will know when to play him and when to play it short. So it's exciting to see. Really a massive talent, Vusi Moyo. So for him to make his cap is well done to him, thinking about his age. But he looked at ease when he did play against the Barbarians. I think he played against Barbarians. So he looked at ease. So we'll see. There's a big step up for him, but he's got good players around him. So hopefully that will work out.
Right, let's talk about debutants. You just mentioned Vusi Moyo, but of course he's not the only one. You mentioned Jaco Williams as well, but Ruben van Heerden at last gets his shot. He had to move to France because that seems to be the golden ticket. Don't play in South Africa. He's only going to play. He hasn't even played there yet, and he's now got to not. I suppose also because we have a lock crisis. We talked about that last week, and then of course Carlos Sardi, a guy who we thought his career was over, and signed for the Bulls, got injured, and then Bordeaux bought him back, as far as I know, and then had rehabilitated, and now getting his chance to shine here. Those S's caught me out there. So talk about those debutants.
Yes, it's great to see, and I think it's just on what you just said. I think it's frustration for Pretoria and Cape Town. Cape Town losing Van Heerden to France, and the Bulls not signing, being able to sign Carlos Sardi. So maybe in time things will change. But it's a pity for them, or specifically for Van Heerden not playing in South Africa now, making his debut. But it just goes to show, I know there was lots of injuries, but it goes to show that it's not being held against players that go overseas. If you're good enough, you can get into the team. But there were massive amount of injuries at lock. So Van Heerden's been doing great ever since he came back. I was a bit nervous when he came back after 3 months. He dropped the first kickoff he got against Connacht. in Cape Town, and that kind of led to them beating beating the Stormers there. And I thought, for a moment there, I thought he's not really switched on. He's like half a foot in France. But then against. But then he played really well against the Warriors in that big win. So I think he earned it with great performances. And like I said before, you can always take a lock from Affies and put him into the Springbok team. There's something that's in the DNA of those tight fives that come from there. So it's great to see. And Carlos Sadi, he comes from Bellville High School here in Cape Town, so he wasn't in the Paul Jim or the Paul Ruiz and all those. So it's great to see that a player from maybe not the biggest rugby school in Cape Town, Bellville High School, can provide. And well, interestingly enough, David de Villiers came from Bellville as well, and John Follett as well, and Werner Greef. So there's a few Springboks that come from that same school. But so it's another one. So for Carlos Sadi, well done on getting that cap. So it's exciting. He's got strong players around him, and so that will help a lot. So they're not going to battle in the scrums. I just want to get back to the team in front of me quickly again. It's the Malcolm Marx next to him and Gerrit Steenekamp. So that's quite strong. Visa, I'm glad to see that his injury wasn't too serious. He was really impressive for those 30 minutes he was on against Scotland. That's Cobus Visa, so that's great, and amazing loose tube. So you've got Jasper Visa, Peter Steph de Toey, and Paul de Villiers, and I'm sure that in the anthem you're going to find the two Visa brothers hugging each other and being next to each other, singing the anthem loud and clear for Uppington to hear. So that is something to look forward to.
I saw a picture of them the other day when they were still little boys on the beach, and they looked like just skinny little, young boys standing on the beach, arms around each other, and now they're both Springboks. And of course, there's a lot of noise now about that, where that incident where Visa was lifted above his head by Boan Venter, and he had to keep hold of him. But apparently, that's now illegal, to drive forward and then sort of, throw him ahead. Because then people say, it's impressive, but it needs to be outlawed. And then somebody showed a clip from, I think, the junior Springboks doing the same thing. Is that maybe a bit of a worked out move, or is it simply magical that he could hold him up his head, above his head and not drop him?
Yeah, I think it was playing the moment. I remember Beast had a few of them in the past as well. I remember from holding out or getting locks that kind of went behind his shoulders and keeping them up. So I think that one was by chance, but it often happens when you catch the ball and you go down. The players kind of sense the defense is not really on you, and that you often find it that fours or fives or locks taking the kickoff do take that chance to immediately go forward. But yes, to throw him like that, like you said, I didn't know that there's something in the rule book that prevented that, but it kind of looked impressive. I must say, it must wake up all the thoughts in Europe and even in New Zealand and Australia. If you look at that game, watch that game, and you see Visa charging down the field after that, and the way that he did it looked menacing. So I think that was impressive. It's a kind of a statement in terms of physicality, to think that there's so many other locks that still need to play. But I think there's exciting, maybe the good in the bad, MVA, in with all the injuries, is that you have a Visa and a Van Heerden now getting their chances to play, and that's probably, we must remember, we've got great locks, but many of them are way into the 30s. I mean, we're talking about most of them, like the Etzebeth and Mostert and Luit, all of them in their 30s. And here, getting closer to that as well. So we need to look at what's next. But we're blessed with great locks in the country, so I don't think we'll have a challenge there. Nortje is doing great as well.
Just on the players not getting any chance to rest. And JC Kriels jumps out at me, Ben Jason Dixon jumps out at me, Damien Willemse jumps out at me, and Peter Steph de Toey, most importantly. I mean, that guy is a machine, but, playing week after week after week, why not play Ben Jason in the starting lineup, Cameron on the bench maybe, and make Jesse captain it? I wonder what the thinking is behind that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think they would have looked at minutes, and maybe it's got to do with him being out that long with his shoulder. Maybe that's a little bit in his almost like not really a Lister engine, but he keeps going like a Lister engine, and he's one of those that always play lots of minutes. So I think on that map where they list minutes played and they take it back, obviously for the last 12 months probably, you'll see that Pieter-Steph was not in action at all. So little, he played really not much. So maybe that's the thought. I would have thought that also rest him now, play him again against Argentina, and then play him against the All Blacks. So it might be that they rest him against Argentina, but that's a game they're going to really need him as well. So it depends on what Rossi is going to do for that game. I don't want to look forward too much, but that's in Argentina, so that's just before the All Blacks. So it's a good chance for them to kind of play as much of a starting 15 for the All Blacks if we look that far ahead. But that's their last chance to put 23 on the field that we will face possibly the All Blacks. But when I look at even the team that was announced against Wales, there's enough combinations that will definitely play against the All Blacks. So you can see like the centre pairing, you can see in the loose, you're just missing kind of for Kolisi, that will come back for De Villiers probably. And then we know that Ox and those players will probably then come back in two different locks. So that will be the forwards for the All Blacks if everybody stays healthy. And at the back, there's not massive changes. You'll have a new fly-off. The centres will stay the same. Kirtley will stay the same, and you'll have Damian Willems and Colby coming in. So that will be probably if everybody stays healthy. Yeah, I think it is a bit concerning to play Pieter-Steph too much, and you want to protect him in a way as well, MVS. So you don't want to put players into to protect them too much. But he's really important for the Springboks. Looking forward to what's happening the rest of the year, especially against the All Blacks. I would maybe give Ben Jason Dixon a few more minutes in 7 as well, seeing that he might be the backup, looking at it now. Also, it's a pity, MV, I think Riley Norton, if you look at him, that he got injured, I think he would have had a big look in for at number 7. But that's injuries, and we'll see how that plays out, and how long he's going to be out with that hamstring. But yeah, it's Pieter-Steph I would have rested a little bit maybe, and Jesse Kriel as well. There's many others that could have played 13, but maybe it's got to do with Rossi wants to give the combinations minutes, and so that's important maybe for Damian and Jesse just to get another game going and hopefully pull it through to the rest of the season.
Okay, just in closing, 5-3 bench, Herschel Jantjies and Manie Libbok and Damian Willems. So Herschel Jantjies getting a look in first time since 2023 and the likes. What type of game do you expect this team to play? Because, bit of an unknown. What are you expecting?
I think they'll have their plans, but as always in the Test rugby, you kind of see how the game develops as well. You can't just go out and say, I'm going to just throw the ball around and just going to run them off their feet from the get-go. I think they'll kind of, in talking about a cricket terms, build a little bit of innings against Wales. I think they're professional enough just to do the right things. They'll definitely kick for the corners early on and get that momentum, and there's a good chance they'll have scrum penalties coming their way if they have some scrums on their own put in as well early on. But it's a team that can play you. So I think it's exciting outside backs. So if there's momentum, the Springboks will definitely try and play them a little bit more. But I think for Rossi, all along he's been kind of thinking ahead a little bit. So he'll be trying a few things and make sure that systems are in place. And you're not always going to have the momentum and the space that you will have against Wales. So yes, it's opportunity maybe to test a few things on the attack, first phase, front foot ball, etc. But I think they'll make sure that they just build the innings. Just make sure that you get in the right place of the field. Don't do silly stuff. Don't run from your own 22. Get in the half. Be a bit more conservative. And maybe if it opens up a little bit, you've got players that can have that freedom then later on. But I'm a bit, I must say that Wales should be a bit more concerned. If you look at this team will get you good possession. And this team will get you front foot ball and momentum. And so if that happens, it's going to be a long, long afternoon for Wales. And I don't want to be overconfident for the Springboks just to blow them away. But if this team gets momentum, it's going to be a long afternoon for Wales. So they need to be wary of this team. So the Springboks getting better, and they showed against good defenses like England and Scotland. I mean, they put up 40 points plus against England and Scotland. With very settled defense systems and strong teams. So it could be a little bit more against Wales. Yeah.
Well, just briefly touching on Wales. For one weekend, they led the Northern Hemisphere points table because they beat Fiji. But they didn't do too badly against Argentina as well. I mean, we should once again not maybe underestimate Wales. Definitely on the, I wouldn't say on the rise, but a little bit of a comeback trail, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think many of us, me included, kind of stuck in those many games in a row that they've lost. They've, in the new coach, definitely made a difference. The Six Nations was a lot better. So yes, I think the travel will kind of will challenge them. Coming all the way from South America, it didn't seem to challenge the Scotland too much, but they were quite good in the second half actually. So maybe it's not as big a factor as we think, but they're definitely better. And they've got in the franchise rugby, they know they're South Africans, so many of them know they're South Africans as well. So it's not as intimidating to play. Many of them have played the Sharks many times in Durban as well, so it's not an unusual place to go and play. But yes, I agree. Don't underestimate them. But seeing that they've lost by quite a bit, not too far, but they've conceded quite a bit of points against the Pumas as well. So it's going to be tough to keep the Springboks out for 80 minutes and for them to not score many tries. But then again, you can't get too far ahead of yourself. I think the Springboks will, like I said earlier, build that innings in cricket terms and just make sure that they do the right things. And then they're not going to chase the score. I think they're going to try and do the right thing. But it's an exciting team. Can't wait to see Vusi Moyo at 10 in action and a few others, and to have those brothers. I talked about Bellville High School. How proud is Uppington Hoërskool, Uppington High School in the Northern Cape. Two brothers standing next to each other singing the anthem on Saturday. So that's a proud moment also for Uppington.
Okay, Ari, we'll talk again on Friday when we know what the Wales teams look like, but also we'll be keeping an eye on the All Blacks because that's the one that matters. All Blacks Ireland is a big one coming up, I suppose, probably almost the game of the weekend. So we'll talk about that again on Friday. So looking forward to that. Thank you for making time for us. It was fun as always, even if it's in English.
Yes, it was fun. We searched for a few words this time, but it was fun as always. Rugby,
Monday morning,
rugby
man.
Is still, rugby is still rugby in Afrikaans and English. It's the same word. But have a nice day. Bye.
Just before I go, I was going to show you someone that's been visiting me and sitting in here. And there we go. My friend Paul Avenant. He was at the game. He did a live reaction for us after the game on Saturday. So he can't hear you at the moment because the earphones are in my ear. So just wave at him.
I'll wave at Paul, and I was very impressed from that first chat you had with him in Wales. I remember he was blessed to be there and close to the Springbok team as well. So nice to have you in South Africa, Paul. And don't give him too much Blue Bull exposure there. Olympia. I know that he's maybe leaning towards the Stormers more.
No, he is a Stormers man, but I mean it's now 50.1% Stormers and 49.9% Blue Bulls. Just give me one more day. I'll have him converted. I'm telling you now. Awesome. Thanks, Ari. It was good, man. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Nice talking.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
Bye.